Well, it's not just the national anthem anymore. Now the Pledge of Allegiance is under fire. In the Washington Post, Bates College professor Christopher Petrella claims while the language contained in the pledge is not overtly nativist or xenophobic, the spirit that animated its creation was steeped in bigotry due to its origins in nativism and white nationalism. Here to react, our panel, Dr. Darren Porcher, U.S. Army veteran and former NYPD lieutenant, Dr. Rebecca Grant worked in the offices of the U.S. Air Force, and Richard Fowler, Fox News contributor and Democratic strategist. Welcome to you all this morning. Darren, I will start with you. So when you have a professor teaching kids and writing an article in the Washington Post that the Pledge of Allegiance now is out of bounds, what do you say to that?
Well, I think it's problematic. The Pledge of Allegiance was written at an imperfect time by imperfect individuals. When we take into consideration the Pledge of Allegiance, the U.S. Constitution, and the national anthem, they were, at that time, we have evolved in a far greater society. I'm a prior Army officer and I'm a prior NYPD lieutenant. I have come in every day under the Pledge of Allegiance, and I see it as a unifier, and I think it's something that we need to progressively see as something that brings us together as a nation, and we need to look at it as such.
So, Richard, I'm putting your hand over your heart in your classroom, pledging allegiance to the country that gives you so much. What could possibly be wrong with that?
Well, I think Darren is right to say that, you know, these three documents were created at an imperfect time in our history. But I think to go a little bit further, I think if we're going to use, you know, the Pledge of Allegiance and the anthem as our two sites as what makes a patriot, I think that's what's problematic, and I think we should speak to that as a country, because just because you don't happen to put your hand on your heart when you say the pledge, or you happen to kneel because you're protesting racial oppression, that doesn't make you un-American. And I think that's sort of a part of a large debate that we're having in this country that we shouldn't be having, because I don't think that that doesn't define what being an American is, because of two things, right? Being an American is more than just two things. Being an American is how we live every day, how we go to work, how we contribute to our society, how we help our neighbors. That's what makes us authentically American. Well, not because we pledge to a flag or we sing the national anthem.
Sure, but Richard, people go to work and they have families and they do things in other countries. But if they don't say the pledge, they may say a pledge to their own country. We say a pledge to ours. Rebecca, before we get back to you, Richard, give us some context on this pledge. You know, what was the origins of it? What was the reason for it? Why do we say it?
Right. Where did these college professors come up with this? So the origin is, yes, this was a period of defining America as a nation. We created national parks. The next year, America the Beautiful was written. Are they going to come after that next? So every word in that pledge is universal. It goes back to our revolution, goes back to the French Revolution, and I like all those words. I like nation, like I love our national teams at the Olympics. I love allegiance, liberty, justice for all, and I even like under God. There is nothing in that pledge that I don't want to sign up for. Every morning, I'd sign up for that every morning.
Darren, is there anything in that pledge that we should not be signing up for, to her point?
I disagree. I think that we should leave it as it is. We're Americans, and ultimately that's what the benchmark of the pledge is. It stands for nationalism for us as Americans. And every day that I look at that flag and I salute that flag, I give thanks and I pay homage to not just the Pledge of Allegiance, but the national anthem, and I'm very proud to be an American.
Richard, to you, the professor who wrote this article, the title of this professor is Intellectual Histories of Race and Resistance, a professor of intellectual histories of race and resistance. So is this not an extension of people who see themselves through the lens of identity politics or racial politics, as opposed to what should unite us, knowing we're an imperfect country, but ultimately, why can we not pledge allegiance to this country that has given us so much?
Well, I don't think that's what this professor is saying at all. I think the ideal that the pledge says, liberty and justice for all, is something that we should thrive towards as a nation, and that's what we've always done as a country. Is we've thrived towards liberty and justice for all, and we should continue to work towards that. But it means that we all have to work together to make sure that we have liberty and justice for all, and not just a chosen few. And so that requires that everybody work towards that, not just Democrats, not just Republicans, not just independents, but all Americans. And when we see an injustice, or when we see somebody not getting getting liberty, we should all fight to make sure that everybody has liberty and everybody has justice. And that's what this is about.
Dr. Richard, very briefly, Richard says that it's for the chosen few. Is the pledge for the chosen few or for all?
That's not what I said at all.
The pledge is for all of us. It's your pledge. You say it how you want to. You can't compel that speech. Say it to the flag and have your own thoughts about it. It's for all of us.
But that's not. Let me be very clear. That's not what I said. I said that we
it
believe
benefits the chosen
in liberty and justice for all, not just for a chosen few. And we should fight to ensure that we have liberty for everybody and justice for everybody. That's very different than saying that it's for just the chosen few.
That's the spirit of the pledge. That's the spirit of the pledge.
The debate will continue, and hopefully our schools keep saying this pledge, regardless of what a professor of intellectual histories of race and resistance has to say about it in the Washington Post. Thank you, Dr. Porcher, Richard Fowler, and Dr. Grant, for your debate this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.